The Sigma male meme has died. Today's video is going to be an autopsy and a look at its life across the adoption curve. I have talked about this on the channel before in this video, but the purpose of today's ideas are twofold. One, show you the life cycle of this trend, and two, show the underlying idea of the adoption curve and how mass adoption of an idea translates into specific events across the transmission of the meme. Starting off, we're going to talk about the very beginning of the curve. We have a picture of Mr. Vox Day here, someone I would consider a type of incel philosopher. He has quite the Wikipedia page, but I put him on here to credit him with the invention of the Sigma male. In his consolidation of alpha, beta, male dynamics, he came up with something called the sociosexual hierarchy and created the Sigma male as a ranking identical to the alpha, except the Sigma, unlike the alpha who's got all the girlfriends and is the football captain, the Sigma is as good but chooses not to partake in alpha things. He chooses to ride his motorcycle alone and think about world politics and have blogs and kind of like, you know, he could do it if he wanted to, though. I say this all partially in jest. The sociosexual hierarchy is kind of like a mimetic trap to sort men. I'm sure there's like little inklings of validity in there somewhere, but as it stood initially, this is something that existed for almost a decade before what we're seeing now on TikTok is some of the most popular trends. Many of the most popular things do have origins in very niche, tight-knit subcultures that stay hidden under the surface of awareness for decades and decades at a time before someone is able to basically articulate the crux of their ideas and poke them out into the mainstream, which we actually got through the second phase, which is people mocking the Sigma male. A series of videos of unironic Sigma male YouTubers saying, you know, explaining types of males ended up being satirized into memes that spawned an entire subculture, initially aimed at mocking people who run, you know, hustle culture. You know, think of a picture of Justin Bieber and it says like, money, drugs, guns, and bitches. Like we've all seen these types of accounts. The initial Sigma male meme accounts I choose to encapsulate through someone like Very Woke Indeed, and a handful of these accounts started off as adopting the Sigma male memeplex and applying it to existing formats, often with a very ironic tone or a sort of poking fun at hustle culture as a whole, and likely the writings of Vox Day initially. As these burgeoned out of earnest incel areas of the internet into a sort of larger-than-life meme culture, pulling tons of movies, tying in American Psycho, tying in The Wolf on Wall Street, Very Woke Indeed kind of peaked forward as one of the most prominent accounts, utilizing the song Drive Forever by Sergio Valentino in all of these edits. I'm going to throw up an example of this. If you haven't seen these before, this is the beginnings of what has come.
Grande is Spanish for large, and he's the only one that doesn't look large. He's also the only one that's Italian. Congratulations, you're stupid in 3 languages.
So as you can see, the format basically worked like take a movie clip, put the sound underneath, have a conclusion or a joke at the end, which is sort of like an insane conclusion to draw out of the clip, and say that is octillionaire mindset, Brussels sprout, Sigma male philosophy that you should be taking from these movies. A lot of the memes that spawned out of this era were of the ilk. It was a base image of a Sigma male character and like an absurd conclusion or a very satirical type of like alpha male piece of advice. While Very Woke Indeed's account is no longer here, I was able to find the remnants of evidence of his impact on the meme genre with people like Very Woke Intern or Very Woke Student. These accounts all spawned around him as a meme creator and basically laid the groundwork for what was to spawn into TikTok very shortly after. The example I just showed is actually of a clip of a TikToker. Usually it'd be like Nightcrawler or American Psycho, but that was a TikToker mouthing the words to a scene, but it exemplifies the next step in the adoption curve, which was people donning the Sigma on their own. I view this as the era of two things. It was the Patrick Bateman costume and then the Sigma movie editor. The Patrick Bateman costume is a sort of, for men, it was an adoption of Patrick Bateman's speaking style and dressing in the suits and wearing them as Halloween costumes. It was super popular among e-girls as well and has been over the past 2 years. Here's a video of how many people dressed up as Patrick Bateman for Halloween. The second half was kind of what is critiqued a lot more, which is like Sigma male meme editors. And in my mind, these were predominantly 14-year-olds starting to get into film, seeing these joking edits and being like, oh, what's that from? They watch the film and they're like, wow, that is literally me. Top 10 Sigma male moments, top 10 Sigma male characters. And these all start to burgeon back into kind of like an earnest engagement and identification in these characters, which one could make the case for it being problematic. Like, some of these characters don't necessarily represent the brightest parts of humanity, but it does, if you look at any of these, there is like a through line tone of some kind of sarcastic engagement, because many of these characters are truly despicable. But it's hard to parse exactly where a young person being like, yes, this is a male role model who I feel I can identify with is, and someone who's, you know, poking fun at these genres. But I would say, as we start to get even closer to mass adoption, you are getting more people earnestly, you know, not getting the joke. They're just seeing Patrick Bateman and they're like, wow, this is getting views. I'm gonna do the same thing. As these things get more popular, they get consolidated down into more digestible forms of the meme, which is best exemplified through just a Patrick Bateman reaction GIF. You tap it onto the end of a video and it's him doing the Sigma smug face where it's like, I'm doing it worse than any of the imitators, which is... There were a handful of other Sigma characters that you could pick throughout, but realistically, Patrick Bateman was the forerunner. And with this, we get pretty much to where we are now, which is the era of Arjun B. Arjun B is a Russian TikToker who has 15 million followers. He is also now the face of the Sigma male, or hashtag Sigma face, or hashtag Sigma. Effectively, he was the best at doing the Patrick Bateman face. That is the easiest way to put it. He was, out of all the different people who were grafting onto the Sigma male meme as it rised in popularity, he was the best at doing the face. And by proxy, he leaned in and he just kept doing what was working and wrote it excellently. Honestly, he's like one of the biggest creators of the past year. However, it is in his rise that we can learn two main things. Number one, as things get more popular, they go further and further from those niche source material communities, and more people only know it as the person who did it the most popular way. They'll think of it as just Arjun B doing silly faces, not any of the massive memeplex or history that came up to this point. This has led to an enormous amount of people in the original kind of like Sigma male editor community making videos like, Arjun B is not our guy, he doesn't exemplify the Sigma male meme. See, you know, edits like this.
А тот человек из фильма «Американский психопат», он не Сигма, потому что он там, само название псих.
And realistically, as Arjun B has reached these heights of fame, he's, you know, working with Mr. Beast and all these big creators, he does kind of need to tone down some of the origins of the Sigma male meme. He's made it a lot more about kindness. And, you know, it's very far from the source material, despite being a direct development. This is a direct result of the adoption curve. When things get understood by more and more people, they lose whatever that it factor was. It gets consolidated down more so to the most like base form of what makes it popular, which is really just like the silly, smug Patrick Bateman face, which is the second idea. As these things get more popular, the final stage tends to be a physical version of the meme. A beautiful example of this is the e-boy, which rose to popularity about 3-4 years ago, but hit its max popularity and its death when the trend could be consolidated in a single movement, a single physical movement, which was this little head tap. The second the e-boy could be encapsulated into a physical meme, it spread so fast that it died immediately. And it also gave people a way to just get it and understand it without needing to give all the context and explain it in a fancy way. Similarly, something like the dab, which I've talked about in this video, is another physical meme which, by proxy of being so easily communicable to any audience without any context, it's just a physical meme that any human could do and get as a distinct idea. It was able to reach mass popularity, but also become insufferable in the process, which is the track of most popular things. In the case of the Sigma meme, by putting it into a simple facial expression, which immediately communicates all of that context I built up for you into a single idea that people can be like, ha, that's funny, it's a silly face, it's a reaction. It can now be understood by everyone, but also no longer has the same punchiness it once did. And as we reach the end of the adoption curve, it's important I show you a different version of the graphic, which has this red line. The red line I'm showing you is the approximate users or people it's reaching. So while the Gaussian curve is going down, the amount of people who now understand Sigma and can participate in the meme is at an all-time high, which doesn't necessarily mean it's as good or funny as it once was in that like middle stage of the adoption. But it does mean a ton of people can do it and become very popular, which is what we're seeing happen with accounts like Gray Pox Cherry, this Korean family who pioneered Sigma Girl, who, you know, it's very, very far from its roots. And at this point, I'll show you an example of their content. It's pretty much just like something silly happens, the wife beats the husband in something, and then it ends with kind of like a poor imitation of Arjun B's version of the Sigma face. See a handful of other examples of this. It is now one of the most popular things on TikTok. Additionally, there's a sound throughout all of it. I talk a lot on this channel about people who employ mimetic strategies extremely well, musicians and content creators in particular, and someone I haven't talked about much is Oliver Tree, whose song, which someone sampled him, sped it up, he took their version of it and released it on his own. Bit of a controversy, but that song is now the backbone of all of these Sigma male memes. So anytime you see someone doing these facial expressions and getting popular and you hear that song in the background, just know a check is being cut for Oliver Tree, which is kind of like a beautiful mobilization of meme music, which is an underlying theme of the past 3 years. But effectively, this video is meant to be an autopsy of the origins and the death of the Sigma male meme, because when things get that popular, they become unfunny. And unfortunately, the joke is a bit dead. A part of me would love to see the Sigma male continue to morph and bleed into different things and have more and more second lives. In my other Sigma male video, I talk about a creator named Saint Luca who did his own version of kind of like Sigma meme marketing for his music, which I thought was really smart, but I view that as kind of an offshoot of the mass popularity and some of the death throes of the trend, as you know, most people now, I think, are getting a little tired of the facial expression. Then again, we do probably have like another year of people milking it, and the people who originally thought it was funny and were participating in these meme plexes are at a point of like, oh my god, what has this become? All in all, to me, the Sigma male meme is a beautiful example of the adoption curve in a meme. Let me know if you think I missed anything down in the comments below, any phases of this meme. As always, it is what it is, and have a great week.